A love of wisdom can help us overcome our obsession with knowledge. And wisdom and knowledge are not the same thing. In 2023, the current year that I'm living in, knowledge is everywhere, depending on which source you want to hunt it out, depending on who you want to listen to, depending on which topics interest you. No longer do you have to go to the Funk and Wagnalls encyclopedias and hope that the entry in that encyclopedia is long enough to suit your needs. We have an endless supply, and a never-ending bottomless chasm of different topics and ideas pertaining to any one subject, to where all of our heads could spin on even the smallest discussion about a fruit fly. This puts us in quite a predicament, doesn't it? It means that there's no excuse to not know something, yet there's every excuse to not be informed on something. Welcome to 15-Minute Free Thinking. My name is Carpo. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about people, the psychology of people, and my thoughts about maybe the most important aspect of being human. We're often told that it's love, or maybe even wisdom itself, or, awareness, having a family, or money for some people. Although we know that nobody out there really thinks money is the be-all end-all of life. Money is a method. It's a way to an end, a means to an end, the end of power. And for some people, they believe power is the ultimate goal. But he who dies with the most toys wins. And to each his own. Each person's entitled to believe whatever they choose to believe and live whatever life warrants their particular needs. However, we find that as people age, as people are dying, for example, you seldom hear them complain about not having enough money. You don't hear stories of people on their deathbed talking about how they wish they'd bought another Maserati. It's more often than not relating to relationships and connections, lost connections, family, friends, the things that should really matter to us. And ultimately, on top of everything, it is those connections which drive us, those connections which motivate us. Purpose is the word that I'm looking for here. Purpose is the word that I'm using to define the most basic of fundamental needs for humans. And purpose, the need for having a purpose, lies in our ability to see ourselves, our self-awareness. Any animal out there in the animal kingdom probably has its own form of awareness, yet doesn't fret about tomorrow or yesterday. And the fact that we do fret about tomorrow and yesterday means that we are aware that we have a short time here and that we need to make a few tracks, if you will, while we exist. And therefore, every human on earth wants to believe that they have a purpose. So when we talk about basic needs like food and water and shelter, there are people who will even give up on those things because they don't have the most basic of needs: connection, love, and, like I said, purpose. If a person has enough purpose, they don't need connection and love. Often people will say, having other people in your life is the most important thing for humans, and those who are lonely are bound to suffer. This is often true, but not always true, because there are people who have purpose and are driven. They might live by themselves. They might be completely motivated to accomplish great tasks without anyone else in their presence. Therefore, I don't think it's necessarily connection to other people. However, those who are connected to other people, those who do have families and friends, are more likely to look at that as part of their purpose. In other words, look at the friends I've made, look at the children I've made, look at the relationships that I've endured. That's part of our identity and who we are. Therefore, I think purpose is the key word we're looking for, our reason for existence. There was a time in the past when people could look into their future and have a few limited options. Maybe you want to be a tailor. Maybe you want to be a carpenter. Maybe you want to be well, let's just say there weren't a lot of jobs a few hundred years ago, but this quickly changed. And there are 10,000 times more jobs today than there were in the past. Everything you can possibly imagine. And we get stuck with the paradox of choice. And it's a real thing that when you go into a grocery store and you go to buy a candy bar and there are 5 kinds, you'll pick one pretty easily. But if there are 50 kinds, it'll take you longer. Why? Because there are too many choices and you don't want to make the right one, or the wrong one, rather. The same way with jobs, careers. And I feel like a lot of people, especially young people today, get tied up in thinking that they need to pick one particular career or another, which is often true when you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on schooling. And that's another topic all in itself. But the unfortunate truth is that often young people will tie their identities to this particular class they took. And to them, that 4 years they spent in school seems like a lifetime. Now, there are people over there out in their 40s and 50s who ran a business for 5 years. It didn't work out, and they just moved on. But when you're young, that time seems like so much more. And so it can be devastating to a person. So I guess what I'm saying is to seek out a purpose for existence. Seek out something that moves you, whatever it might be, and realize that it's going to change with time. There will be times when we don't do the things we need to do. Times when we're let ourselves down, when we could do better. We are only human after all. And the best we can do is try to encourage each other in this crazy world. I don't know what it's like to be another human. I have no idea what it's like to think through the mind of another person and what they find important. And when I discuss topics that I think are important, like self-realization, finding truth, finding purpose, family connections, those are all based on my own circumstances and my own experiences. I know this. But I do believe that there are certain aspects we all share. When it comes to the basic needs, for example, food, water, and shelter, also connection and purpose would be thrown in there. Without these things, often we won't seek out the others. There are people who will give up on life because they have nothing to live for. So therefore, if you have nothing worth living for, even the basic needs don't do much good for you. And that's one of the saddest states humans can possibly attain, is giving up. And I hope none of you ever give up. I hope you all have a fantastic life and a fantastic existence as best we can, given the circumstances of our own upbringing. When I sit here and talk to you about these things, I'm not even quite sure how I feel about a lot of them. Maybe I kind of feel out these topics by discussing them online. And am grateful enough to have an audience that listens. So thank you. And this podcast is available on YouTube as well as on the various podcast platforms as a 15-minute free thinking. And thanks for coming along. If you want to support the channel, you know what to do. And please leave a comment and hit the like button. And I'll see you all next time. Be well.